Here's what we're going to learn in this class. Today we will be drawing a beautiful ocean animal, specifically a colorful and vibrant octopus. I really like using Posca markers because they are very vibrant and colorful. The materials we will need for this class are covered in the next video, and you can also find a list of them with links below this video in the About section. We're going to have a lot of fun today using vibrant colors. I invite you to check me out on Facebook and Instagram at Andy's Artitude, and if you have any questions or don't understand something in the class, I would be more than happy to answer your questions. So just post your questions. I also invite you to feel free to share your work. Let us all see what you've done if you like to. I would love to be able to check it out and see what you've done, and know that your work can be inspiring to all of us. It is now time to start this class. So sharpen your pencils and let the class begin. In this class, we will be drawing using Posca markers, and the drawing surface we'll be using is a black illustration board. Now there are different types of these boards available for sale online and at stores. I will be using a crescent illustration board. If you have another type of dark surface, that is fine. I've had students work on jewelry boxes and on their iPads and follow along the class using my coloring techniques, but adapting it to their needs. I, for my part, like using these black surfaces because they allow these acrylic markers that are so vibrant and colorful to really pop. I love how the colors show up so well on this dark surface. So like I mentioned, we'll be using Posca markers. These are acrylic markers. There are other brands of acrylic markers, so whatever you have at your disposal is fine. I enjoy using Posca markers, and I find the markers to be high quality, and in my experience, they don't tend to get stopped up. The colors we will be needing are the following: yellow, straw yellow, pink, orange, light pink, violet, dark brown, white, and dark blue, as well as needing a black colored pencil. We will also be needing a white colored pencil to do the initial sketch on the blackboard. If you're using another type of material to draw on, such as white paper or something, then in that case you will use a regular pencil or pen. We will also need a dark blue colored pencil for some of the shading, or if you don't have that, you can also use a black or gray colored pencil. I'm using Prismacolor pencils. With that, we are done gathering our materials, so let's start with the class. Okay, so we're going to start with our white colored pencil, and we're going to start by drawing a simple oval that's going long ways from left to right, and we want to place this oval a little bit off center, so towards the upper and left side of the page. Next, we'll come up here on the right and upper side of the oval and extend this line that curves down and around a little bit. And this will be the initial part of the arms. Then we'll have a second line for the other side of this segment. And then I will connect the two together. Next, I will draw the eye, and I will start out by drawing a little circle up here near the top where these two segments of the head and arm come together. And I'll just draw a circle here to start out with another little circle inside. From there, I'll draw these little half circles on the inside, separated by a small area, and this will represent the eyelids of the octopus. Next, I will connect the eye to the body with these little curved lines. Finally, I'll draw the second eye that's on the other side of the octopus with a little curved line because we only see part of this eye in the distance. For the sketching of the tentacles, I'm not going to narrate every detail I draw. Instead, I want you to just watch along and draw with me and copy the sketch I do. There is also a scan of the completed initial sketch of the octopus you can see in the About section of this class, or you can download in the Resources tab below this video. One thing I will point out is that some of the tentacles are behind other ones, so be sure to draw with this in mind. Alright, so we're going to come in with our regular yellow Posca marker. And this initial layer will be just to get some color down. Many times what happened, as you can see on mine, is that with the initial layer, the paper soaks up a lot of the paint. So we have to get this layer in and allow it to dry so that we can then go in with a second and sometimes third layer to really get the color to pop. So we're not going to just color in randomly with our marker. Instead, we're going to have these lines that are wrapping around the head. If you've ever looked at a model globe, like at school or somewhere, and you know how the lines of the latitude and longitude curve around the globe, this is what we want to do with these marks of our marker. So on the left half of the octopus head, they will curve towards the left, and on the right side, they curve towards the right. Near the center, they almost go straight up and don't curve. Like I said, depending on the type of paper you use, you may have to add more than one layer. So let the first layer dry for about 10 minutes or more, and then come in and add a second layer on top. And with the second layer, the marker will really start to show and be very vibrant. After we've gotten this in, we're going to go in with our straw yellow. This yellow has a bit more white in it, so it will look a bit lighter and even less red than the previous yellow we used. Also, for the most part, this marker will cover better because we've already allowed the initial layer of yellow to dry and form a crust. So what we'll do with this straw yellow is go on the upper part of the octopus head and lay in, having these lines wrap around the head of the octopus about a quarter of the way down. And we're laying this in to give the illusion of there being light on the octopus wrapping around its head, like the light is coming down from the surface of the water, and the first part of the octopus it hits is the upper head. I will also color around the eye, and next we'll allow all this marker time to thoroughly dry. Alright, so we're going to start working on some of the shadow layer on the lower side of the octopus head. And I'm using the violet marker to add in the shadowed area. And I'll be starting from the bottom center of the head of the octopus and working my way out and up about a fourth of the way up the head of the octopus. And as I go up higher, I want to have less and less marks And near the bottom we want to have more denser marks, but not cover the yellow over all the way. You'll be able to see how I ended with a bit denser area at the very bottom, and as I go up the side of the head of the octopus it gets thinner and thinner until it blends into the yellow. Next I'll use an orange marker and I'll go in this middle area. I'll cover about a fourth of the head of the octopus with these marks going the same up and down way, bending a bit depending on if they're on the left side, they'll bend towards the left, and if they're on the right, they'll bend towards the right. Next, I will come in with a pink marker and color in the middle area, right in the middle of the head and right in the middle of the orange. This will be a thinner area than what the orange is. We don't want to cover up the orange all the way. Next, while the pink is drying, I'll grab a dark blue Posca marker and do something similar as what I did with the violet, dragging up a little ways, but I don't want this blue to extend all the way up as far as the purple goes, just a little ways, about half the way that the purple extends up, and we'll concentrate this blue near the bottom. And you can see how we're building up our shadow. Now that the pink has dried, we'll come in with a light pink, and if you don't have a pink, you can use a white Posca marker, and what we'll do is we'll color in right in the center of the pink. Alright, now we're going to come in with a dark brown Posca marker, and we're going to add in the deep shadow. I opted to use a dark brown instead of a black because this brown Posca is very dark, and if we used a black we would end up killing all the color that we've already worked so hard to add. So I'll add this brown starting from the very bottom and center of the octopus head, going up about halfway up where we already added blue. Remember not to cover the blue all the way, we're just having these loose lines. Next I will grab a white Posca marker and add a nice thick amount of Posca up here at the top along the eye and along the top of the head, so we really get a nice sense of light coming down and bouncing off of the head of the octopus on the parts that are closer to the surface of the water. And after I've added the initial line of white, I'll drag this line down, adding in these little shorter lines, dragging it down into the yellow so it blends together a bit. Now we're going to start on some of the details for the head, and to start off we're going to grab a white Posca and we're going to add in all these little dots that are about the size of a pea to the head of the octopus. Now that the white dots have had time to thoroughly dry, I'm going to come in with my indigo blue colored pencil and I'm going to add a little shadow to the lower half of the little dots we just added. So I'll just draw a thin line around the lower half of these dots, and this way we continue this idea of there being light coming from the surface, and therefore there is a bit of a shadow on some of the surfaces such as the head and also the little bumps of the skin of the octopus. They too have a shadow. Once we're done with that, we're going to continue with our indigo blue, and we'll shade in the lower quarter of these white dots near the bottom so that they go a bit darker and they're still there and they still show up, but they're just a bit subdued and far away into the shadow. We want to be careful not to scrape up the paint, so we'll work slowly, building up our shadow a little bit at a time, and we want the shadow to go about as high as where the pink starts. So you can see I'm slowly building up my shadow, working from the bottom up, adding more and more a little bit at a time. At this point, I'm going to grab my orange Posca marker and add little specks to the little white dots we previously added. Alright, now we're going to work on the eye, and we're going to add in this layer of orange, and we're going to add this to the eyelid and the area around the eye, and then we'll allow it time to dry. Later on, you'll see me add a second layer of orange to this area once this first layer has had plenty of time to dry. While we still have our orange out, we're going to add in these little specks, first to the other eye, and then to the one nearest to us, the main eye. Next, I will better identify the eyelid using a yellow Posca marker, and I'm going to color in the eyelid with these little yellow dots. Now that is done and the orange has had plenty of time to dry, we're going to add this line around the outer part of the eyelid area using a purple Posca marker. Next, I'm going to add a little highlight to the eyelid on the part closest to the eye itself. And we'll just go in and add a few little dots of white Posca. Now that we have finished coloring in the head and adding all the details to it, we're going to start working on the arms of the octopus. And we're going to first work on these main two arms that are in the foreground, and we want these two to stand out the most. Therefore, these two will be a bit brighter, and their color scheme will be very similar to the head. So to start, I'll grab my yellow and add 2 layers to this area, allowing each layer to dry thoroughly before adding the next. Now that the first 2 layers of yellow have dried, I'm going to go in with my straw yellow, the yellow that's a bit whiter. In other words, the parts of the tentacles that would be receiving more light. Alright, we'll allow the yellow to dry, and now we'll go in with orange, and we're going to add it to this lower part of the tentacles, working in our lines and blending them into the yellows that are already there. Now I don't leave a hard edge between where the orange and the straw yellow meet. Instead, I gradually diminish the amount of orange that I'm adding. Now I'll come in with my white Posca marker and add it to the upper edges of the tentacles. Alright, now we're going to add in some pink on top of the orange. Again, we don't want to cover the orange all the way. We're just going to work the pink in a little bit, blending it in with the orange. Alright, so now you see the space that I left at the bottom of the tentacles without any pink. In this area, we're going to add the shadow, and we'll start with our violet Posca marker, adding it along the edges of the tentacles and going into the tentacles about 1/4 of the way up. And in the next minute or so of this video, you'll see me adding next dark blue and then dark brown. And with each color I go less and less up into the tentacle, adding in a thinner and thinner edge. Alright, now we're going to come in with orange, and we're going to add 2 layers of this color to the rest of the tentacles. And just as a reminder, we want all of the line strokes to flow along the tentacle, starting at the base and going towards the end of it. And this applies to all the colors we'll be adding. We're not going to color in solid colors. Next, we'll grab our pink marker and focus on coloring the upper half of the tentacles. Similar to what we did on the head, we're building up the lighter area on these tentacles on the sides that face the upper part of the scene. Now that the pink has dried, we're going to come in with first yellow and then straw yellow, adding it to the same area that we just added the pink, but adding it just to the edge of the tentacle, so we don't want to cover up the pink all the way. And concerning the straw yellow we'll be adding in a moment, we basically just want to add a thin line to the edge of the tentacles. As you can see we've been able to highlight and bring forward the two main tentacles closest to us, the viewer, and make them stand out more. But the rest of the tentacles we've been working on for the past 6 minutes have been colored in a different way so as to show that they are further away in the scene, and that way they don't stand out as much. And so we have this distinguishing between the tentacles that are closer to us and the ones that are further away. Alright, at this point, we're going to grab a white Posca marker and go to the very tops of the tentacles and also the tips and add just a little bit of white so as to have a nice strong highlight where the light is bouncing off of them. Alright, the next thing we'll do is grab our indigo blue colored pencil and we're going to work on shading these tentacles, especially the parts that are closer to the body of the octopus. We're going to do something similar to what we did on the head of the octopus, going over the dry Posca lightly and gradually building up our shadow. We will leave the tips of the tentacles nice and bright without any shading, and I want you to try your best to have this shading be gradual and the shadow gradually blend into the highlight. Alright, so we're going to add a few suckers to some of the tentacles. We're not going to add them to every tentacle because that would be distracting, and we want the focus of our viewer who is looking at our drawing to focus on the head of the octopus. So with that in mind, I'll add the edges of some of the suckers in some key locations. I'll add the edge of them and also a side view, as you can see I do on the uppermost arm on the right. So we're getting these different views of the suckers from the side, from above, and we're adding white. And the reason we're adding white is to establish a nice color so that in a minute we can go in with orange and color over the white, and the orange will look nice and bright. But before we do this, we need to allow the white plenty of time to dry. Now that the white has dried, we'll go in with orange and color over all the white tentacles. Next, I will grab a light pink marker and go and outline the edges of all the tentacles. We're now going to add a little shadow to the suckers using our indigo blue colored pencil. We'll do this by adding a little line right at the edge of where the sucker goes behind the arm of the octopus. And it doesn't have to be a hard line. You can make it soft and blend it into the orange. Alright, so now for some final edits, we're going to grab a black colored pencil and deepen the shadow under the head of the octopus, making it even darker and blending that into the blue. We really want to have a deep shadow down here to convey the idea of roundness of this head. Alright, so there's our drawing of our octopus. I really hope you enjoyed this class, and I look forward to seeing your drawing and your version of the octopus. With that said, I will leave you with a clip of the drawing. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this class and were able to learn something from it. Please feel free to post a picture of your drawing so that all of us can see what you did. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to start a discussion below this video, and I will be happy to answer your questions. If you would like to support me, please check out my website at www.andysartitude.com, and feel free to visit me on Instagram and Facebook, where you can see daily updates of my artwork at Andy's Artitude. Stick around here and follow me, because in the coming weeks I will be uploading more classes. That's been it for now. I hope you have a wonderful day. See you in the next class.